drip, 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 drip. Oh, it burns.
The design of the universe is for you to interact with other people and then to be triggered by them. That's catalyst. Catalyst is negative experience. And so the law of one encourages you to be as social as possible. They don't want you to hang out with the same people in the same town with the same job for your whole life. If that's the way that you're living your life, you're probably not going to get that enlightened. You're probably not going to have a whole lot of growth. The more people you can interact with, the more you can get yourself out there, even if it's just online. And again, they talk about this principle of the mirror so much, that others represent the mirror. Others mirror you back to yourself. The whole freaking thing that's going on in the world right now, to me, has a lot to do with Barack Obama and the fact that he has a black parent and a white parent. Honest to God, I really do believe this. He is seeing racism because of things like 45 going after him publicly, and he's projected that out into the world. He believed that we were still in the Jim Crow era, and the mainstream media pushed this on us, but we're really not. As I said before, I chilled with black guys from Harlem. I smoked cannabis with them, 420, blunts, White Owl, Philly blunt. I learned raps, okay? I learned KRS-One, Guru, De La Soul, EPMD.
Good morning, this the Bozak. Time to wake up the nuts. Oh, what? We'll hit the shower so I can wash the butt. Damn, last night was crazy. One life I had a blast. It was ass for days, nuts out of full tank of gas. Golly, G, word beat, 10 cent pussy kicking louder than my Alpine Benzie.
I did it all, okay? I did that stuff. And I enjoyed hanging out with those people. I've never been a racist. I don't even understand this. Okay, so like, it's not real. It's an illusory reality, and other selves are the catalyst to piercing the veil. So look what's happening with other selves right now. There are two lines of reality in the world. There's two realities that you can believe in. And now I'm giving you a virginal third mind that's different than the two realities that you get to choose from. In one reality, you are believing everything that they tell you. And you can't understand why things are so crazy, and you can't understand. And look at what's happening. Those people who want to live in that denial are being battered. They are being battered by experience. They are being battered by information. They are being battered by consciousness. And they are seeing all of these things come in to their reality, whether they like it or not. Now, a lot of times, those of us in the truth community say, we don't understand why people can't conceptualize such simple things. This is simple information. It's so easy to understand. Why can't you understand something that's so easy? Please try to have more compassion for these people who are suffering and understand that it has nothing to do with the simplicity cognitively of the concept. The concept is very simple. Very evil people are running the planet and want to kill you. Okay? And they're trying to do that, and they're aggressively pursuing this goal right now. That's a very simple thing if you were just looking at it like a mathematics problem. Yeah, okay, evil world, they're trying to control everybody, they want to kill everybody. Let's just hypothetically postulate a reality where that's what it is. It's not difficult to think of the idea that the world could be like this. Cognitively, you could have a thought experiment. Anyone could theoretically be a philosopher and say, well, I don't believe this, and it makes me scared, and it makes me feel unsafe. But hypothetically, theoretically, maybe, perhaps, just in case, what if this is so freaking effed that we are like really in the crap here? What if it's real? It's not about whether it's easy to see it or not. And it's not about whether it's easy to understand. The process of understanding requires a maturation that the galactic logos wants you to have. Your maturation is the awakening that you are in a hero's journey, that there is a huge villain, and you better get off your ass and fight him before he kills you. That's the tipping point. That's what's so hard to understand. The alchemy of the galaxy, the alchemy of Jesus Christ, is that you will become like him. John 14:12. As I do these things, so shall you do them, and greater things. Cognitive abilities, psychic abilities, telepathy, seeing the future, all of these things are rolled in with that concept. So when we're looking at the possibility of liberating ourselves from the suffering that so many people have, it ultimately comes with the understanding that you cannot die. You cannot die. You are not threatened by anything. You have nothing to worry about. And this whole entire world, as traditional as it seems to be, is actually a reality construct. That's the awakening. That's why people have a hard time seeing something that, oh, it's so simple. Why can't they see it? It's such an easy thing to understand. No, it's a paradigm shift. It's coming to realize that everything you ever thought was true in your life is a freaking lie. You were lied to about every single thing. There are satanic communities where everybody's in on it. It's the YMCA, it's the bank, it's the schools, it's the colleges. And they have mind control where you don't know they did anything. And they do it so well that you can't remember that they did anything. Most of the children in those movies don't remember starring in the movie, folks. These are some of the new briefings I'm getting. Hypnosis is a lot scarier than I thought, and it's been used a lot more than I thought. And so many victims are not aware that anything ever even happened to them. And I don't mean to alarm you. I don't mean to alarm you. But it appears that this crap happened to me. It appears that I was in a dialed-in satanic community, and it appears that I was abused. And that's one of the main things I've had to deal with over the last few months, is the torture that I was put through. The things that I was forced to witness, the Draco's eating human beings. And Draco's eating my own body. Okay, one of the things I discovered, which is very weird, is that some of the technology they got in UFO disclosure, they could literally chop your head off and then zip you right back together and bring you back to life like nothing even happened. So there are some sickos who had children get eaten alive and then resuscitate their body from the dead. And that's what apparently was done to me, among other things. And it explains why I had these horrific dreams, this repetitive dream I had my whole life as a kid of a dog eating the fingers off of my hand. And now I know why. All right? I have a personal stake in getting rid of these things because they abused me. And I am not happy about it. And if you think this is fake and you want to laugh at me, and you think that I'm making up abuse memories and that this shit didn't really happen to me, I'm sorry if you can't believe that there could be a reality where this is happening, but I've been getting new briefings, folks. And a lot of the stuff about the secret space program is true. The ETs do have a technology where they can stitch in and out of time. They could pick you up. They could have a long set of experiences with you for however long, some of which may be very horrific things, very disgusting things, and bring you back, and you don't know any different. And if you read Ascension Mysteries, the first half of that book, which is all my personal reflections, why was I waking up under hypnosis? Why was I walking out the door of my house in the middle of the night, hundreds of times as a child, and I couldn't remember where I was going? And at the end of the thing, they just make me walk back to where I was, and then the memory is lost. And I don't remember what happened, but now I do. Now I do. And I want revenge. I do. I'm not going to lie to you. I want revenge. I want these people gone. I want these beings gone. They shouldn't be able to torture people like this. They shouldn't be able to do things to children like what they did to me. And the things that I'm now remembering that happened to me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be crying like this. I'm sorry. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe that these things happen to me. That's okay. But I want to be clear that it did. And I want to get back to the slides so we can talk about where this is going. So this is a really, really big one, okay? This is the one that also, again, explains why did I have to, drop out on you guys for a little while? Why was it difficult? I had no idea that I was involved in this crap, folks. I had no idea that I was forced to witness ceremonies, but it makes sense because of why I've been so pursuing this for so long. How the hell are they able to do this and not have you remember? It's amazing. I really have had a lot to process. But I now feel that in my other life, in my waking life, I've of course lived it with perfection. I've never wanted to be evil at all. And these things were done to me against my will. The people who molested me did so against my will. They did it on stage. They did it in front of large audiences. And they were making fun of me because I had special abilities in this ultimate personality that they created. I had telekinesis. And so if you go back to some of the dreams that I posted online in 1997, there's a dream where I'm in my school cafeteria and everyone in the audience is in a robe. And they all have their way with me, make them a banana sandwich. And I didn't realize when I wrote that dream down that it was true, but that I couldn't remember because the memories were taken away from me. But now I do. Now I remember. I don't want to go into this a whole lot more, but it explains why I've been so committed to my path of justice and freedom, why I will not let this go on, why I do not support these people. I did not deserve to go through what I went through. I did not deserve to be raped. And I will not stop. I don't care what happens to me anymore, folks. Now that I know what they did, I don't care. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they say about me. This has got to stop. We need this thing to end. We need these people to stop succeeding in what they're doing, and we need their overlords to stop gaining the louche energy of torture, the ceremonies that they make people go through, and the horrible things that they make people do. The people who are in these organizations, for the most part, do not want this. They do not want to be doing these things, folks. They do not want to participate in these ceremonies. And there would be a mass exodus, according to Savali. There would be a mass exodus if they felt they could leave and not be tortured. And so believe me, there's a lot of people who you might think are really sad about the loss of this, and they're not sad at all. What a relief it will be to not have to go through ceremonies anymore. What a relief it will be to not be abused by your higher-ups anymore. This is profound, okay? So as you start to become aware, when the veil drops, when you realize that this world is an illusion, it's becoming a lot easier to see that now. They've made it obvious. They're not hiding their agenda, okay? And I have been staunchly opposed to this the entire time. Nobody should have to go through the things that I seem to be remembering having happened to me. Nobody should ever have to go through this crap. So, as you go farther and farther down your path, and people are saying, oh my God, I'm crying, let it out, we will love you. My heart center aches, my goodness, such pure evil. Yeah, I mean, okay. I'm not going to keep crying, but I had a time loop in 1997 that made me be aware that I was ritually abused. And it explains why I've always read this stuff and why when I saw these descriptions that I would feel such vivid things. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't feel bad about the fact that this happened to me per se, but I absolutely do not want to ever go through this again. And I will not go through this again. And under no circumstances will I permit this to happen to me again. I want you to be safe. I'm doing this for you. If I get killed, it's okay. I mean, I don't want them to, and I doubt that Michael would let them, but now that I found out what happened to me and how they messed me up and why I've had personality disorders my whole life, why I've had a hard time on many different levels, and why I've felt this like I'm burning alive. Well, if you have trauma in your subconscious and you can't remember what it was, if they don't allow you to remember what happened to you, and this happens in the course of traumatic memories anyway. I mean, if something bad happens to you, you're going to dissociate it into some corner of your mind, okay? It's not a bad thing that I'm crying right now, and it's not a bad thing that I'm sad, and it's not a bad thing ultimately that these things happen to me either, because I now know that I will fight to the last breath I have to keep you safe, to keep this planet safe, so that you don't have to go through what I went through, because in the future they want to do this to a lot more people, not just folks like me who were smart and they did some strange thing with us, okay? This is a big subject, and the time loop really helped me to see something that was very important. So I needed to step away. You can't heal and be creative at the same time. You can't be fighting this war and get better and become an adept. You see, you need the silence. And so that's why, getting back to the slide, that I had to free myself from the thoughts, constraints, opinions, and bonds of other people, which unfortunately includes you guys in the audience, and I am sorry. But when you start finding out that people made you into a banana sandwich, and you start remembering those things, you got to take some time off. It was much, much bigger than divorce. So don't think that the divorce is why I was so silent. The divorce was only the catalyst that triggered these memories. Once the memories came, I had to sit with them. I had to process them. I had to say, did this actually really happen to me? Is it even possible that this might be true? And I still don't really know. The verdict is out, but I've spoken with my therapist about it, and she has told me that the drawings and the writings and the dreams and all the things that I have strongly suggest repressed memory. Well, that's what happens when you're smart. If you're a gifted child like I was, they may actually pull you into something and never, ever, ever tell you what the hell was going on. Okay? It's very sad. So I had to pull myself away. I had to be quiet for a while, but I think I'm mostly through it now because I've come to an acceptance. And if I had to go through all these things on some parallel reality to make me into the warrior that I am today, then I accept. As horrific as those things were, as disgusting as those things were, they made me into who I am, and they will never change who I am. And I cannot be defeated because I am immortal, because I have consciousness. The simple fact that I have consciousness leads to immortality, and that immortality means that I am not jeopardized. There's nothing I have to worry about. And no matter what these people did to me or to my body, doesn't matter. I survived. I'm alive. And now I get to do something good with my life. Now I get to do something positive with my life. So they talk about this concept of freedom, and they say, woo, now that's one of the ones that can really, really make people uncomfortable. Wait a minute. It's a lot simpler than you think. What it means is that if you pull away from other people because you need to heal, and they say that's spiritually acceptable, right? Pulling away is acceptable. I mean, if you have a family and children, I don't recommend walking off on them. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that, oh, well, I need to be an adept now, so I got to ditch my kids. Now you're into something called honor/duty in the law of one, which means that if you have children, you're responsible for them until they're 18 at least. So that's something you can't get around. You can't just ditch out on your kids and become an adept, all right? So don't think that you can, because you will not make it. If you have children, then your adepthood is in the context of being their parent. That's a very, very important point. So when you're free, when you have this freedom, you don't care what other people think. And then they can't believe how this could be possible, How is it possible that you could defy me and defy my will and defy my authority? That's what happened. Well, you're evil, you're evil, you're evil. No, I'm actually evolving and I'm in a higher consciousness. And so this is what's happening on planet Earth with the cabal. We, the voice of the public, or vox populi, to use the Latin term, we are not racists. We are not all wanting to change our gender. We are not all wanting to change our sexual orientation. It's fine if you're homosexual. That's fine. It's fine if you identify as something other than your birth gender. That's fine. What's not okay is forcing yourself upon other people, forcing your ideologies, your dreams, your visions, your view of how the world should work onto everyone else. That's the difference between love and control. If you love people, you give them freedom and you allow them to read information that they might not then agree with you about. They might say, hey, I don't like you anymore after reading this. Well, that's freedom. They have the freedom to read that, even if it means that they don't like you anymore. You can't stop them from reading things that will lead them to not liking you. Well, you can. But in terms of universal law, now we're getting back to the organic law of the U.S. Constitution that goes back to why our founding fathers wrote this in the first place, and something most people don't understand, which is color of law. The color of law represents the underlying trend of how the world sees various beliefs. And when enough people believe a certain way, that this is right and this is wrong, that becomes color of law. It's the idea of rightness. It's the idea of justice. It's the organic concept of law stripped away from humans and even stripped away from life on Earth. Is there an organic law unique to the universe? And the answer is yes. According to the law of one, it's free will. Free will is the law of the universe, and that law is always going to be preserved. So if you violate somebody's free will, you're going to get bad karma, and that's going to be something that you have to deal with, okay? So I'm not telling you that you have to run and hide, and I'm not telling you that you have to be afraid of the power that is within you. That power is always there, and you have everything you need to reconstruct the universe. The freedom can come in walking away from those who insist that they are right. And that is what we are doing as a planet right now. Since, again, I studied dysfunctional, battering relationships in college, what's happening on a global level is that we are in a domestic violence relationship, and we are leaving the abuser, and we are saying no more. And on the way out, the abuser is trying to destroy us, destroy our lives, take all of our money, leave us for dead. That's what's going on right now. It's a breakup. It's a global equivalent of a breakup, and it's very interesting that the Johnny Depp trials, which again, statistically is the most commonly viewed content on Earth right now, these are like a warm-up for the tribunals. This is where it's going. So getting back to the slide once again, I would say that healing is an elective process. And what does that mean? That means that we choose to heal. We choose to become the Logos. We choose to work on being an adept and arriving at personality transparency. And what's happening is that as heroes form on Earth, the whole point of the soul's journey is the hero's journey. The 22 archetypes defined by the major arcana of the tarot cards, which the Law of One says do represent the 22 phases of our human spiritual journey in this galaxy. Those archetypes are available, and we all have to go through them. We all have to learn how to work the 22 archetypes, and the process of working them is called the hero's journey. That's what it's called. So the hero's journey represents the awakening to the fact that there is a villain and that there is a quest, and that you, in order to defeat the villain, must take on the quest and become the hero. The whole point of life on Earth is to generate heroes at the end of this cycle in particular. Heroism is the salvation from third density, becoming a hero, doing the right thing, standing up for the oppressed, fighting against injustice. This is heroic. This is the definition of the hero. And so as we're doing this, we also find out that the ancient prophecies spoke of this as well. So now I'm going to tie in some Hinduism. So check this out. This is very interesting. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, again, which I believe this is from ETs, and unrighteousness exalts in pride, then my spirit arises on earth for the salvation of those who are good, for the destruction of evil in man, for the fulfillment of the kingdom of righteousness. I come to this world in the ages that pass. And so what they're actually saying here is that the Logos embodies to ensure that the cycle is completed. We essentially are the working end of the prophecy, folks. It's the same thing in Hinduism. It's the same thing in Zoroastrianism. And remember, the priests that predicted Jesus' arrival were Zoroastrian priests. The myrrh, the frankincense, and the gold were their gifts for the Messiah. And in Zoroastrianism, the Messiah is called the Saoshyant. When they saw that light that led them to Bethlehem, they knew what they were going to find. They knew they were going to find the Saoshyant. And so in the Zoroastrian tradition, they say that at the end of the age, we become Saoshyants. We become adepts. We become fourth density activated. And this again gets back to the law of one and the concept of your fourth dimensional ghost body, which is again incredibly fascinating. So I'm going to skip ahead here and we're going to do the solar cycle thing later on. That'll be part 2. But before we do the solar cycle thing, I want to get into this. And this is going to be the last little section for today. I've said this before, but as a result of what's happening in the world, my work with the aerospace company, and we are, as I've said, if you've watched any of my other stuff, the U.S. military has declassified patents for working spaceships that use anti-gravity and power plants that generate what we would think of as free energy. This has already been disclosed. And I have a company that I've put together which intends to build those patents. And that's where all my money went. So this is why, again, I have to do a paid product this year because I need more income, because I took all my income and I put it towards our mutual future where we all get to live better than the billionaires are living right now. That's what I want for everyone. And we get there in part by building our way out, using the technology that these higher beings gave us, UFO crashes, putting all that stuff together and using it to heal the biosphere and heal the planet. Now, for many years, ever since I was age 2, I had these dreams of a man who looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi after I saw Star Wars, and he was always there for me. I call him the old man. I would meet with him in UFOs. These dreams involved spaceships, and he seemed to be very powerful. And he told me I was going to have a very important role on the planet in the future. And he basically gave me a whole bunch of teachings that prepared me for what's going on right now. Also, I was made aware that I have DNA from these people in my body, and that many of us do. In fact, the reason I had these fevers all throughout my childhood over and over again, apparently is that viruses were being used to allow more of this benevolent ET human DNA to get in, because the virus invades the cell and then you get more DNA in there. Now, I was actually told by Archangel Michael in these telepathic communications we've been discussing that they jacked me up with more of this DNA than most people ever are able to have. I wouldn't be surprised because of the IQ that I have, which is obviously high, and the predilection that I have towards spirituality and the telepathy, the abilities that I've demonstrated. These are all signs that my DNA has been souped up, and I think a lot of us have had this. In 1981, the Law of One said there was 65 million wanderers on Earth. But what I didn't really understand was how all of this ties back in with the so-called Valiant Thor information. this is very, very exciting, and I do now remember having spoken to Pete Peterson and him telling me that Valiant Thor was real. We just never really made a big deal out of it. Now, I was always looking for Venus because Venus is the planet that in the Law of One they say they originated from. The Law of One came out in 1981. It's 5 written books, and you cannot deny that they predicted in advance many, many highly advanced scientific concepts that we still have trouble even believing are true today, and have been the core material of multiple books that I've written and so many television shows, movies, and videos that I've created, and radio shows over the years. Now, all of this Law of One material, again, was derived telepathically, and we never really understood where the source was, except that they said they came from Venus. Dr. Pete Peterson has always been one of my top insiders, and I would ask him, what do you guys know about Venus? What did you get on the inside about Venus? The only thing he would ever tell me is that he believed that there were a certain number of android humans that we built in the military-industrial complex that live on the surface of Venus, and that was about it. It wasn't until this very strange event has taken place where insiders like those on the team that I'm working with in our aerospace company are now being told that they can say everything. You have to understand, the CEO of my aerospace company has hardly ever told me anything about what he went through, even though it's very similar to Pete Peterson. Well, all of a sudden, there's been some kind of policy change, and you put that in capital letters. Policy change is a really big deal. The policy change is that now we can say everything. Now we can disclose everything. So if you go to thedisclosure.com, I have that movie where I'm showing you the prototype of a device that takes 4 AA batteries and you get 750 volts out of it. If you want to see free energy working, go to thedisclosure.com, watch the movie, you will see it. I figured out a way to edit the video where I didn't give away the guy's face or voice by taking out the audio and making sure you never see his face. I was able to get this information out there. We are going to have technology that will eliminate our need for fossil fuel, will eliminate our need to pay for energy. And it's happening a lot sooner than we think. And that's what my company is working on. And that's why I'm so motivated to do this. And again, the people on the inside are now being told that they can fully disclose not just some of the information they know, but all of the information they know. So one of the things that we're going to have to find out is that everything that was taking place in space is ridiculously evil. If you got pulled into space, if you were part of the secret space program, almost guaranteed you had to go through ceremonies. Almost guaranteed. And I'm sorry to say this, and it's a bummer, but it's true. Okay, this is some of the stuff I'm learning. They have the technology where they can chop your head off and they can put you back together so they could torture you and kill you and bring you back to life. And it's still the same horror that you went through, as if you had actually died. And now you have that trauma. And now you have strange traumatic memories and you don't know why. Okay? But there's a positive side to all this. This had to be allowed to happen. These negative people had to be allowed to invade and create this control system because it's all part of the grand illusion that we awaken out of, the grand dance of consciousness that makes us souls. So, Pete, what's going on with Venus? What's going on with Venus? And he would never give me anything. Well, now that we're getting full disclosure, all of a sudden, even though Pete never told me this except in passing, now Valiant Thor has become a really, really big deal. Because the biggest piece of information that I did not have until now is that these beings were appearing as humans. And they came to Earth, and one of them, who called himself Valiant, and Thor is like a last name that they all have the same last name. Valiant came in 1957 and apparently lived as a human being in the Pentagon for 3 years. And as I started to connect the dots and realize that the Valiant Thor phenomenon is the same as Archangel Michael, is the same as the Law of One, is the people that have been contacting me, is the 1950s human ETs that contacted people in America, contacted people in Italy. Now everything starts to make sense. Everything starts to make sense. Now, if you want to know about Valiant Thor, there is a book you can find called Stranger at the Pentagon, and this captures the narrative. This is the book, and again, you don't have to pay for it. It is available online for free. I mean, I would recommend paying the artist, but you don't have to. It's a pretty short book. Now, believe it or not, as crazy as this may seem, this guy who you're seeing here, as well as the two people that are sitting next to him, they are apparently not regular humans. They projected into human form, but if you saw them in their native form, they would be orbs of light who live inside the planet Venus. This is the new briefing that I received, and it sounds crazy, but it makes a lot of sense. And so many people get angry and arrogant when it comes to UFOs, right? And so you look at this and, I don't like him. I don't trust him. That can't be an extraterrestrial. And look at the guy next to him. He looks like just an ordinary dude, right? Well, as it turns out, apparently this is the guy. Apparently this is Valiant Thor, and he did show up in a very normal-looking human body. And so if you look at the left there, let me move my microphone here. Sorry for a second. I just bumped it. If you look at the left there, it appears that ET humans might look somewhat like Christina Applegate. Okay, that's pretty cool. I certainly don't have a problem with that. And the guy in the middle, it's interesting. They don't look anything different. Here's another photograph from the day that they apparently arrived, and she's smiling. You know, everything looks pretty normal here. Now, a lot of people might not believe this, and I might not have either, except that this is stuff that I now got in briefings telling me, no, this is really true. So the line that I heard and the line that's in the book, The Stranger at the Pentagon, is that he arrived in 1957 in a flying saucer, so-called Bell craft. And they also use this term Bell craft in the Law of One. Now, typically, when we think of a bell today, we probably think of a church bell. It's kind of long, right? That's not really the bell that they meant you to be thinking about. The visual on the bell in the Law of One is apparently misunderstood because the bell that they wanted you to see is actually this, folks. That looks a lot more familiar in terms of UFOs and designs that people have been very familiar with. So again, Thor was considered a last name, and even though they look alike to humans, they had noticeable physiological differences, which the people in our government human blood, which is iron oxide. The IQ was off the scale. They estimated his IQ to be 1,200. He could basically talk about anything with incredible genius. He was fluent in 100 different languages, including extraterrestrial. So again, you can say this is all BS. You can be a skeptic. You can cross your arms, sit back in your chair, and put your head back and forth like this and make noises and, well, whatever it is that you need to do to feel good about yourself because I'm threatening your paradigm and you don't like new information that might just be true. Okay, but imagine what it would be like if this guy is in the Pentagon and you're sitting there and you bring in somebody who speaks Spanish and he can speak fluently. And you bring in somebody who speaks Mandarin and he speaks fluently. And you bring in somebody who speaks Portuguese and he speaks fluently. And you bring in somebody who speaks Mongolian and he speaks with them fluently. And it doesn't matter what accent it is, what language it is, all over the world. You bring them in and he can talk to them. And you're watching it happen. And then you test his body and you x-ray his body and you look at him under the scanner and it's like, whoa, he's only got one lung. He's got this weird heart. He's got copper oxide blood. He's got incredible IQ. This is incredible. Imagine what these guys, and apparently he told them that he had a 490-year lifespan, but he looked again like a normal human being, 6 feet and 185 pounds. I really did not ascribe significance to the Valiant Thor thing before, but now that I did, it started to make me realize, if he spent 3 years in the Pentagon, and Howard Hughes had just written this 5-inch binder called The Plan, which was his outline of how to defeat the deep state, wouldn't it make sense that Archangel Michael / Valiant Thor would create the plan that we're now seeing come to fruition, and created the plan with the knowingness of what they as angels could do on the other side of the veil to make sure that the plan is fulfilled. Part of their plan seemed to be generating the Law of One, and part of their plan seemed to be getting me involved so that I would be able to show you all these things and how they connect, importantly, at the right time. so that you have greater faith in what's going on here. So now that we've gotten all this Valiant Thor stuff, it very much seems to tie into the Law of One, which grew out of the human ET contactee data from the 1950s. We'll talk about this in the next show on more depth, in which, again, in the Law of One, telepathic verbal information was generated with remarkable accuracy, and there were many attempts made before Valiant approached the U.S. in 1957. Now, I'm going to jump ahead one more time. Just let me do this for a second while I get to the place I wanted to go. Okay. Good enough. So, the 1950s ET contacts, I'm not really going to go into a whole lot of detail about that now because we're already, again, really pretty far. We're past the 2-hour mark. So, somebody said Valiant Thor is on Venus now and wants nothing to do with humans. That is not true. Valiant Thor is very, very interested in our survival, and that's what they're working on, and they will never stop. So the Law of One was a big, big part of this, and again, it's been my main source of spiritual wisdom since 96, and then it led to my own contact in 96 November, so 11 months later, approximately, I began having a telepathic interaction with a source that said it was Archangel Michael. It used analogies of the flaming sword, and, of course, I've now seen a few different references where he uses the word Valiant. So in the time loop from 1997, it's become clear now that Valiant Thor, Law of One, it's all interconnected. Very, very clear. So as I said, there's this amazing new prophetic book that I hope you're all going to get, the Michael Prophecies. And at first it was just 1999, but now I've discovered by going through more of the transcripts from 96 through 2000, as I was pulling in all this telepathic information, speaking the words of Archangel Michael every day, not being aware of what they say, trying to get my mind away from it, not paying any attention to it. And if you do it right, then you start getting future prophecies. What I really didn't understand is that all of the transcripts, 96 through 2000, are loaded with references to COVID, to vaccines, to you name it. I mean, it's amazing. All of the connections of the stuff that's happening now, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the war in Afghanistan, the fact that they dropped the ball on that and that all the weapons were seized, all of these amazing different things that have been going on are all linked up in the book, and I put red line, I highlight the text in red when those things happen. So this is again really the core quote that I think is the most significant out of all the Michael prophecies, where they say that we are going to have a coup over the military-industrial complex, and most importantly, its stranglehold over the UFO cover-up. So I've already published the October through December 1999 prophecies in the previous YouTube videos that I've done here. And the remainder of 1999 is being converted into at least 2 volumes now, because I have 487 single-space pages, but there's no commentary there. The team reviewed the manuscript, and they said that the passages are too puzzling, and I need interpretations. So then I was looking for an introduction to the book, which I've now found. I knew that at one point Archangel Michael did kind of introduce himself. This one is not in the version that I gave the Alliance. I found it in 1997. And I added it in at the beginning. But in the course of looking for it, I stumbled into a new time loop. This was in early April. So April is when my life really started to get very strange, with the memories of traumatic abuse, with telekinesis, all these strange things were happening. Okay? They began happening far more often. And what actually triggered all this, believe it or not, was Donald John Trump getting a hole-in-one at 187 yards. People don't even want to believe this. They're mad at him. They don't like it. They're like, well, how in the world? It's not even possible. 187 yards, you swing at a ball that's like this big, and it falls into the hole? Come on. Come on. But then look at what we see here. Ernie Els, who is a golf pro, was wearing his contact lenses when Trump made the hole-in-one, and he said he saw it clearly. Well, guess what? This was the result of a psychic working with all the golf pros, including Ernie Els, who were there with Trump that day. And Archangel Michael says, as I've said before, that Trump lenses other people's work into a work product. That is what he's really, really great at. And it's obviously taken this Great Awakening thing to a whole new level. That underlying ability is phenomenal. And so I didn't actually like him in the beginning, frankly, and he has earned my full respect, appreciation, honor, loyalty, and support, because I'm doing the same thing. It would be easy for me to do one more launch, take your money, run away from you, live in this house, in this beautiful place, and never have to worry about money and never have to take a risk and just live alone and do nothing. Okay? I could do that. I could have enough money that I could do nothing. But instead, I took my money and I invested in hover cars and power plants and garbage technology. And I'm going to continue earning because I want to be out there. I don't want to run away. But in the course of this adept process and getting into the monastery, which is what the time loop calls this house, they've definitely said they wanted me in a monastery. They wanted me at 8,600 feet. They wanted me on the mountaintop, the pyramid type of house, because, the log cabin home has no metal, so you get the pyramid power. The same thing that happens if you stay in the Great Pyramid is what's happening in this house, especially because I'm up in the mountains. Same thing that happens to the Tibetans that are meditating in the Himalayas at 8,000, 9,000 foot altitude. You meditate on empty awareness. The self is creator, okay? So I'm having all these things going on. I start having this time loop in 1997, which includes the memory that I was abused. And I'm okay with it now. I mean, it didn't happen to me at all in my normal life. And if they do this amnesia thing, it's like a parallel lifetime. And I'll go into that on a different show. But anyway, getting back to the executive function, I said, look, there is no way, I'm sorry, Don, or Mr. President, there's no way that you could have pulled this off without supernatural help. It's just not, it doesn't ring right. And yet, how did it get in the hole? How did it happen? Well, the answer is telekinesis. And so apparently, we all know there's been multiple attempts on his life, and they're not going to work, because whether we can control it or not is another story. So executive function means that you will be protected from assassination if you are out there on the front lines as a hero, doing something to help humanity get through this horrible problem that we're in, which has led to this tipping point of peak global crisis, which everybody is so afraid of right now. Okay? That's where we're at. So when this happened to 45, I said, whoa. He is starting to develop abilities that he probably didn't have before. And this is very interesting and very curious. And then, simultaneously, all these very, very interesting and at times incredibly disturbing telekinetic events started to happen to me. So I know you might not want to believe me, but during early April, it started to happen 2 or 3 times a day. Now, I'm not saying that it's like a physical glass is moving across. It's not that kind of stuff. One of the things that's weird and annoying about this is that it's always threshold. It's like, well, yeah, it moved, but did I do that? Was it intentional? Did it happen on purpose? I don't know. Things are moving, yeah, but it's not like it's floating in the air. It's not, it's small stuff. It's like one of the ones recently was I looked at a log. I was packing up logs for the fire because we had a snowstorm here a week ago. And I had packed up all the logs onto the cart that I'm going to wheel it into the house with. And I said, maybe I should pick up that one last piece of wood. I want to pick up that one last piece of wood and put it on top. And I say, I want to pick up that piece of wood. And then as I do, it moved by 3 inches by itself. It just goes whoosh. Now, it fell downhill. So you could say, well, yeah, it fell downhill. But it fell downhill at exactly the moment that I said, I should pick that thing up and I want to put it on the top of the cart. So there's a lot of these. And so, the ones that were the scariest, honestly, was when I got a telepathic voice in my head corresponding with the movement of physical objects. And as I said before, this proved to be surprisingly upsetting. But the one that really got me screaming like a little girl, I'm not kidding, folks, freaking crying, was that I downloaded a free PDF copy of Stranger at the Pentagon, which I found on archive.org. Okay, it's there, Stranger at the Pentagon PDF. Just type that in, you'll find it. Well, I was reading the book again, and I know from what the briefings are, this is the most accurate book about the Valiant Thor story that's available. Okay, there's a lot of them that are out there that are really dubious, so just be careful. If it says Valiant Thor, it doesn't mean it's real. There's a lot more detail to the Valiant Thor story than what you're going to get in Stranger at the Pentagon, and I intend to get more briefings on it. I want to learn a lot more about this, because I really know very little, but I will tell you that telekinesis and elements appear to be very interconnected. Wind, water are the two elements that seem to be the most related to telekinetic effects. Earth appears to be more about how you draw the telekinesis out of the earth, and I'm going to talk about this in the Ascension philosophy. I'm going to go in way more detail on the telekinesis exercises that Michael has been giving me telepathically. So, take it or leave it, whether you believe that this is true. But if he wrote a book in 1999 that's telling the future now, he's probably telling me the truth about how to get your telekinesis to work too. Because it is actually getting results. I am getting it to work. I never ever thought this would happen. I never thought I would be able to develop this ability unless I died and ascended into some angelic being. But apparently it's happening to me first, because it's going to be happening to you later on, and I'm here to tell you how to get ready for it. So this was a very, very strange one where I was in the tub, because another part of the thing is the telekinesis bathtub. So the telekinesis bath is one of the things that Archangel Michael has been making me do. I have to take a bath. I cannot take a shower. I am forbidden to take a regular shower. I am supposed to bathe, and I'm supposed to bathe every day, but only in a bathtub. And then another one of the really funny things is that you have to pee in the bathtub. He wants your DNA in the water. So I have been using scented oils. There's a perfume company out there that has some really wonderful stuff. I recommend, I'm not going to say what it is. I recommend, let's just say, okay, well, this one is generic enough. Even if you just do sandalwood and eucalyptus, those to me seem to be two of the most activating, because a lot of these compounds that smell really good have what are called sesquiterpenes, which are smell compounds that actually awaken your pineal gland. So sandalwood definitely, Palo Santo definitely, eucalyptus definitely. There's other ones that you can find. I would say just try it out and see what bath oils work for you. But the peeing part apparently is important, because it's getting your DNA outside your body into a medium that touches your skin, which gets into this whole inside-out thing where you have to turn yourself inside out and become the universe. So apparently peeing in the bathtub is a good way to get you there. I don't know. I'm just following my instructions. I've noticed that there's an incredible amount of grief purging that goes on in the bathtub. Almost every time I take a bath, I'm releasing pain and sadness. And also, at least in the earlier stages, he wants you to stay in the bathtub until all the water drains out. So you gotta pull the frickin' thing and then sit in there, wait for the tub to drain out. It's a pain in the ass. But another big thing is that I've been healing my joints, and so when you're in the tub, if you have any issues with your joints where there's stiffness and pain, I've been doing Rolfing very extensively, and it's all about finding the part of the range of motion that doesn't want to move, and then you fix that range of motion by actually working it. So it's similar to like physical therapy. And it turns out that I had enormous atrophy in my right leg. So another one of the things that Michael has been going into, and you're going to hear a lot more about this in Ascension Philosophy. This is the online course I'm going to be launching really pretty soon, because it looks like with my aerospace work that I'm going to have to be doing a lot of meetings and a lot of traveling. And so this is probably one of the last times I'm going to be able to do Sunday teachings week after week without being interrupted. And it might even get to the point where I'm going to have to fly during the week and then come back to do the show. I don't know. But I'm going to try to get this thing knocked out really soon in the next few weeks, 6-week course. So you wouldn't think that telekinesis would be so intricate, but here's another thing. Michael has told me now that you cannot have telekinesis work until the bindings in your muscle fibers are alleviated. And so it turns out that I had a very, very intense amount of scar tissue in my right leg that made my foot want to stick out to the side like this instead of going forward, that caused pain in certain parts of the range of motion, and it caused me to always want to stand in a funny way where I put my foot off to the side and walk in a funny way that people said was like a duck. How do you get your toes to turn inward? Well, it turns out that the whole entire interior area of my legs was all dead. The muscles weren't getting blood flow, and when they don't get blood flow, they can't heal and they can't grow and they can't contract. So most of the muscle in my leg wasn't even working. And it turns out that this was apparently intentional. Michael is telling me now that I came in with such DNA upgrades, and a lot of you listening to this probably have had these too. You'll never know it because they do this all at night. And again, the positive beings don't torture you. This is more like a German paperclip kind of thing that I got sucked into as a result of living next door to General Electric, who was running Disney World and had a contract to make all the animatronic machines down there, by the way. And they were building them all in Schenectady right across the street from my house. And we're going to get into a lot more of that later. Why I think they're using animatronics and hypnosis together, and how they might torture people with animatronics, and the people don't even realize that what they're seeing is not real, but prepares them for something later on that is real. You got to think about sick people and how they might do this kind of stuff. So, I found out from Michael that until I had gotten my leg descarred, that it could bend and move easily without pain in the right range of motion, that I wouldn't have the telekinesis. So this is why in all the ancient cultures, the Taoists, the Buddhists, etc., that there's always a movement art. They're always doing these kind of interesting things with their hands, standing in funny ways. There's martial arts, there's Tai Chi, Qigong, all this kind of stuff apparently grows out of these cultures where they are tuning into cosmic consciousness, tuning into their higher selves. And there are physical movements that the body can make that actually help you make what the insiders have called plasmoids. So the whole focus of the art is in getting these balls to form, these plasma balls to form, which actually do have gravitational force and therefore can push people. They can move objects. They can levitate objects. You just have to get the ball. The ball lightning is really what it is. And they will form from your intent, but you have to be able to throw the energy, and you have to have your muscle fibers unencumbered, which means if you have any muscle knots, you got to get rid of them, or else this isn't going to work. So that means yoga, that means martial arts, that means Tai Chi, Qigong, whatever it is. Get your body all worked out so that you can stretch easily and comfortably with no pain. And so I've been working on this for years. And now that I'm just about done, and I'm into like the very, very last part of my psoas muscle in my hip and the hip adductor a little bit, but that's really it. It's the psoas and the adductor, and there's a little bit of atrophy in them, but it's almost gone. I have definitely noticed that as I get these knots out of my muscles, that the telekinesis is going way up. And they're telling me you cannot get this to work if you don't do this. So you really do need to stretch out your body. So there's a good argument for yoga. Now, another part of the thing, as I was saying, is the elements. Telekinesis, as I've found out, is very involved in elements. The element that Michael prefers to use the most to get large telekinesis to happen is wind. I have had an incredible number of very, very strange wind synchronicities going on, where, for example, the wind will come in and hit just one window, but not the other windows, and it pounds the one window right at the moment that it needed to pound it to make me go, oh, wow! Or it'll pound the ceiling or pound the door. There was one case when I was outside and I was having a very interesting set of thoughts, and the wind blew the door open and this huge freaking noise. And another very, very strange Michaelism was that I got a chainsaw, steel 151, model 151, which is a small one, because you don't want the big one. And I got the pants and I got the helmet and all that. And I was saying, okay, the first thing I want to do is chop down these 3 trees with my chainsaw. That night, there was this outrageous windstorm. This was earlier in the year, and I go out the next day, and 2 of the 3 trees have been broken in half by the wind. After I said I want to cut those 3 trees down. And by breaking in half, it made it a lot safer. So wind is clearly one of the things that is the most powerful, and we'll see that in a second, but then also water. So this was the one that really, really frickin' blew my doors off, okay? Because it had already been happening over and over again. And another one is the Archangel Michael light. I have this particular light switch that is intermittent. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. And somebody says his name is Val, not Valiant. Well, it's Valiant. He does say that his name is Valiant. If you go actually read the book, he calls himself Val or Valiant, okay? Either one. So here I am in the bathtub, which I'm supposed to be in every day. I'm doing my thing. I got the pineal gland oils. But there's a little bit of water on my finger, so I left a little bit of water on the touchpad, and I just touched it. I touch it, I sit back, and on its own, let's go back to the slide. It literally was the most outrageous. It very, very quickly, by itself, scrolled from page 18 to page 28, just like, whoop, and it didn't do it kind of like it was slow, and then it sped up, and then it slowed down again. It was very fast, and it did it all at one speed. It just went, and it's done. And the whole entire book scrolled to page 28 from page 18, and this is the exact moment where Valiant meets the President of the United States. And again, going back to the previous slide, it caused me to completely lose it. I mean, it was such an all-defining moment in light of all the other things I was learning, in light of realizing that some very bad dreams I had as a kid might not be dreams, that some very sick people brought me into a program because of my intelligence and tortured me. But on the other hand, I got a high IQ out of the deal. So there you go. I'm happy to use it for the betterment of humanity if possible. So let's talk about this moment where Valiant meets POTUS, because that's what they wanted me to read. So this is where it scrolled to, and this is what I read as I'm now sitting there in terror and tears about how in the world did this happen. It says, suddenly the door opened, and 6 armed guards led Val to what appeared to be an elevator. Now, it always says Vi, because I think that the optical character recognition assumed that this is talking about Steve Vai. So when you go read the online PDF, it always says Vi, but it means Val. It's just that it interpreted the L as an I. Okay, that's what's going on here. Suddenly the door opened and 6 armed guards led Val to what appeared to be an elevator. It went rapidly to the bottommost level. Maximum security was in place. After transferring to an underground train, they sped toward the White House. 6 officials, 6 armed guards, and 3 Secret Service men escorted him into the office of President Eisenhower. Wow. From behind the desk, the president rose while the Secret Service men remained nervous and uneasy. As he extended his hand to shake that of the president, the Secret Service men drew their revolvers and pointed them at Val. That's pretty rude. Following the nod of the president, they reluctantly lowered their guns. Standing in front of his desk, the president said, "Of course, you know we have suspended all rules of protocol. I have a good feeling toward you. Please, sir, what is your name?" He replied, "Valiant." And then, "Where do you come from?" "I come from the planet your Bible calls the morning and the evening star. Venus?" "Yes, sir." "Can you prove this?" he asked. "Well, what do you constitute as proof?" The president quickly retorted, "Well, I don't know." And then Valiant says, "Well, will you come with me to my ship? I'll give you a ride." The president answered with a quizzical look and said, "My friend, I'm not allowed to come and go as I please. There are others to be considered, committees to be consulted, security measures to be adhered to. Please spend some time with us here. Let's get better acquainted and learn more about one another." So this is the full page. It's Valiant meeting the president. And again, I believe the reason this was shown to me was to emphasize that the plan that we're seeing now had this archangelic, divine, Christian support. If you read Stranger at the Pentagon, Valiant Thor always wants to talk about Christ. You cannot get him to stop talking about it. He loves Jesus. He loves everything about it. And so that was very strange to these people, because why would this human-looking entity show up who's so into Jesus. Okay? Well, I certainly did not expect that I was going to end up crying today or telling you about traumatic abuse memories, but it happened, and we just go with it. So I think I've pretty much gotten over it now. If these horrible things did happen to me, I'm glad that they're not happening anymore, and I'm glad that I am free now. And that's really the key of what we're about to see. I am free now. This is amazing what happened to me. So as I go through this Valiant Thor thing, and the book is scrolling on its own, again, I cried for probably 10 or 15 minutes, just heaving frickin' insanity. Insane crying, because you cannot tell me that scrolling right to the moment where Valiant met the President of the United States is some random coincidence. That the laptop just did this on its own? Oh, it's just because of the drop of water and it electromagnetically interacted. Well, why didn't it electromagnetically interact right away? Why did I go back and the water was already there, and then it scrolls exactly 10 pages very quickly, and then it stopped? You can think that it's crap. You can think that I'm making this up. I know what happened. I know that I cried for 15 minutes. I know that it scared the crap out of me. It really did. And at the time that I did the interview with Mike, that people really love, again, go to his site, as I've said earlier in the show, and look up that interview that I did with him recently, because I talk about the executive function thing. And Trump just got another hole-in-one, so it's proven that it's continuing to happen. And I'll tell you, it's happening like crazy over here. But there was one that was very, very, very amazing, and I really wanted to talk about it before we had a chance to be done here. So again, I end up looking for the introduction to Michael Prophecies, and then thought that it was in 1998, and I couldn't find it because I knew there was a place where Michael introduced himself and said some really beautiful things, and I found it in 1997. I think I first started looking in November, December of 97, and then I went back to January, and I did January, February, March, April, and then I got into May, and the time loop kind of wore off. And Michael basically told me, yeah, this particular time loop kind of went through those parts of 97. There's other stuff. I'm seeing that everything is time looped now, and so I'm not allowed to read past May yet. I got to get this book done first. There's other stuff in there that I'm sure is going to be exciting, and I'm probably going to have to do multiple volumes, because now I've realized there's a lot of great Archangel Michael / Valiant Thor / Law of One stuff that I received that is very pertinent to what's going on right now. The 1997 time loop was amazing because not only did it validate that apparently I was a member of the secret space program and I did go through traumatic abuse, but that I also have now cleared all of my karmic debt. That from past lives, from present lives, whatever the heck is going on, I have arrived at this point today where, unless I was to create big new karma, I have basically cleared my karma, and that is so exciting. And it also means that because I have fought for humanity's freedom and fought for humanity's future, that even though I may have been forced to participate in horrible things in the past, I no longer have any karmic debt for having done that. I exonerated myself with the universe by being a hero, stepping forward and doing the right thing to save this planet and to save all life on this planet, or at least as much of it as we can save. So it's a huge deal to me to get a time loop where the words are very clearly talking about what's going on in the present. And again, it's astonishing redundancy. I've discussed time loops many other times, and there's no getting around it. There's no way that this could be anything other than something that knows what's going on in my life now, telling me about it in 1997. So then, at this point, this is where the story gets really amazing. The time loop tells me that my life is going to change, that I'm about to have a very interesting new life, and I think you are too. And that life, they knew all about the fact that I was going to be doing this aerospace company. They knew all about the fact that I was going to be making hover cars, spaceships, free energy, anti-gravity, all that stuff is in there. And in the time loop, they say that the way that our world will change and how fast it will change is much more than we could have imagined. So it's a very, very exciting timeline for our future. So at this point, reflecting on the fact that I may have been ritually abused, it certainly appears like it. I've had these very bad dreams, of things happening to me all my life. I've felt like I'm on fire. I could never understand why I felt like I wanted other people to abuse me, why I felt like I deserved to be abused, why I felt like I deserved to be tortured, why I felt like, yeah, go ahead, hit me, the equivalent. I mean, I'm talking about business deals. I'm talking about many things that have happened to me all throughout my life, and people who got together into my life in various capacities and created a lot of harm. And it wasn't until Elizabeth came along that she shut the door on that and taught me how to protect myself. And I thank her so much for teaching me boundaries. So only now is it clear that by having the healthy boundaries, by not allowing psychopaths in, by not feeling subconsciously as if I deserve abuse, and therefore I need to attract in the abuse to balance out whatever the hell I had to sit through and watch. I mean, it's coming back to me, folks. And this is significant. My therapist has said that everything that's happening to me is consistent with the recovery of traumatic memory. Okay? And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to ever have to go through this again. I don't want to be brought into anything where I'd ever have to see anything like this again. Absolutely not. And I want this evil to be freed from the planet Earth. I do not want anybody to have to go through this stuff. It's just horrible. So I was very emotional. The Michael thing had happened. He scrolled 10 pages. It freaked me out. But then I'm looking at the time loop, and what is the time loop saying? It's saying to me, David, you are free now. You do not need to be punished anymore. You do not need to be tortured anymore. You do not need to feel guilty anymore. You do not need to feel ashamed anymore. You have done enough to work off the events that occurred in your past, in this and other parallel lifetimes. Because that's how they really look at it, as a parallel lifetime, when you have this kind of thing going on. So I became very emotional because my whole life I felt as if I'm bad. I've done something wrong, and I feel like I'm on fire. And until the world is fixed, I cannot feel good. Until I can fix the world, I cannot rest. I cannot look at myself in the mirror and feel good about myself at all. I must fight. I must get this thing solved. And I must get rid of these parasites that have infested our solar system. And they're real. Okay, so all of this led up to me going into the mountains and making this prayer based upon everything that Michael had been telling me. That I have discharged my karma and that I don't need to be experiencing suffering, pain. I mean, we all are. We're all experiencing horrible, horrible things right now in the world. And apparently this is not going to last much longer. It's not just my karma that's being cleared, folks. It's Earth's karma. It's whether we need to have these jerks continue to misrepresent us and lie to us and steal our money and leave us for dead or actually kill us. Okay? That's coming to an end. And so I go out into the mountains and I'm now aware that, okay, an authenticated, time-looped 1997 divine source is telling me that I am free and clear. I am karmically free and clear, and I am going to claim that. I am not going to let this go. So I go out into the mountains, and as I'm making this prayer that confirms that I have gotten through the worst of my karma, that I won't need to have any type of extreme negativity in my life again, the wind surges up into this incredible 75-mile-an-hour fury. I mean, it was so intense that I literally had to sit down on the wind, put my arms out and sit down on it, because it was pushing against me so hard that I was afraid I would fall if I didn't lean back against the wind. Okay? Now, as this is going on, and let's go back here, the prayer concluded with, and I'll say it in the hero voice, because this is the way that I did it. Okay, this is the way that it actually happened. Because what I'm about to tell you is the most phenomenal thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life, and it was telekinesis, big telekinesis. Okay, so I'm just going to set that up so you can wait for this. By decree of Archangel Michael, I am free now. That's the way I did it, okay? It was something equivalent to that. By decree of Archangel Michael, I am free now. Now, even as I said this sentence, folks, right as I'm saying this sentence, the wind got even more outrageous, okay? And I knew that this 1997 time loop meant that by being a hero, by fighting for freedom, I've cleared this karma, whatever the hell happened to me before, whatever liability karmically might have been, even though I was forced, none of this was my choice, okay? I cleared it. I say, by decree of Archangel Michael, I am free now. And at the exact moment that I said, I am free now, the entire flow of 75-mile-an-hour wind came to a complete and sudden stop. It was like, it's so intense that I'm leaning back and going, oh my God, I am free now. Wham! It just stopped. I mean, all the wind stopped. There's no noise. I don't hear wind. I'm not feeling it. I can stand up. It all stopped. And I'm telling you, the violence of the wind leading up to this moment was so intense for minutes and minutes and minutes. And right at the exact second that I said, I am free now, it stopped dead. This is not the end of the story, folks. As I suddenly realized what happened, and the gravity, literally the gravity that would be involved in making something like this happen, causing a 75-mile-an-hour wind to stop dead, that's a lot more pounds of pressure per square inch than it takes to levitate a human body. A human body, in my case, let's say 180 pounds, levitating that, versus stopping a 75-mile-an-hour wind dead in its tracks so that there's absolutely no sound at all, that's more than 180 pounds. That's a lot more than it would take to make me levitate. And in the time loop, Michael is saying that we all have much more powerful abilities than we realize, and it's our fourth dimensional self that's choosing not to let us use it yet. But in order to be able to use it, you have to do things like, get your muscles worked out, decalcify your pineal gland. We'll talk about all that in Ascension Philosophy coming up. So again, the point was that after the wind stopped and I'm standing there going, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. It was the purest, the cleanest, the most beautiful moment of God consciousness, the knowingness. It's going to happen again. I'm sorry. I don't want to cry again, but it was so beautiful. It was so amazing. It was so life-altering. I prayed, and I got the answer. And it means that I'm okay. And it means that I'm free. And it means that you are free. And these people are leaving. This was an event that happened to me for the planet. It didn't happen just for me. It happened for the planet. It's a prophetic vision of where we are. So as I have this thing happen, and I realize the wind has just stopped, the next thing that happens is this energy comes up from my feet. It comes up from the bottom of my feet. It goes up to the top of my head. And it was like the equivalent of what they call in Hinduism Shaktipat. And this is where you go to a guru and he or she puts their hands near you, or sometimes they don't even need to be that close, but they hit you with something and you go into this blissful consciousness. And I had it myself. If you read my latest book, Awakening the Dream, when the shaman was on stage in my senior year of college, she was from Siberia, and she was throwing her voice off the back of the room. And I closed my eyes and tried to meditate with her, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. And I'm gasping for breath, but I can't breathe. And then my mind got thrown into this weird domain where I had access to all information. And any question that I asked, I got the answer. And I was seeing something that looked like a galaxy, but more like a three-dimensional spiral. If you see galaxies kind of going like this. Well, that energy was alive and it was conscious and it loved me and it loved my life and what I was doing. And I got 3 questions answered immediately. And then I came back and all of a sudden I could breathe. And as I inhaled like this, she's standing on the edge of the stage going, it was the scariest freaking thing, folks. I mean, up until that point in my life, she's looking right at me and she did this. And I was like, oh my God, she did this. That was a Shaktipat. It was a bad one because you couldn't breathe and you felt like you were dying, but she got me into that realm of death, okay, for just a little bit. And so in this case, there was no lack of breathing. It was just ecstasy. So the ecstasy happened in a very interesting way because it also had a sound. It's hard to explain what this actually was. I'm going to try. I mean, there is a verbalization. So let me just give you the verbalization. It was as if, okay. It was as if I was an egg of liquid. Like my soul was this egg. And the ripple came up from the bottom, went through the egg, went up to the top, and then rippled back down. I could feel the egg. It was as if it was the surface of my skin. It was as if it was me. I felt the entire egg. I felt the energy moving up through the egg, but more importantly was that the energy movement was total ecstatic energy, total bliss. Orgasmic times 1,000. Orgasm doesn't begin to cover what this was like. It was much better. And it was so pure. It was the knowledge that I am not alone and that the Creator exists, and He just stopped the wind for me. It was so incredible. And so the sound, as the ripple went through, it went boom. That's the sound that I heard. I felt it more than heard it, but the boom. I guess that's the best way to describe what it sounded like. So this was very intense. The Shaktipat experience no longer made me afraid of telekinesis. Since this wind stopped and I got the bow thing, I have continued to have telekinesis. It stopped for a little while. I was going through a very stressful phase a couple weeks ago, just dealing with a lot of administrative things, and our company, we've had people lying to us. We were trying to get money. We're very, very. We really. It's kind of amazing that we're going to be able to buy the facility because we've had to delay the transaction so many times. But now we're getting down to due diligence, and we just need an appraisal, and then our lender can fund. So hopefully the hover car company is going to fund this coming week. We hope. But I have literally, I'm not kidding when I say that my fear over not only the loss of my entire investment, which is all the money I've earned and made in my life, really, but not only that, but also the loss of the dream, the loss of the hover cars, the loss of the power plants, the loss of this even being possible. I'm so invested in making this company for you. I want you to have an affordable hover car that I'm having insomnia when we can't get the money. I'm not able to sleep. I've had panic attacks. I've had anxiety. And now in the last couple of weeks, we've started to have meetings in DC. We're starting to get movement on our firefighting aircraft, which is $60 million less than the comparable firefighting aircraft C-130 design. So you save $60 million a plane. So it looks like the company is moving forward. It looks like we're not going to collapse. It looks like we're not going to lose the building. But this has been just driving me insane, folks. And so I have been very traumatized, feeling alone, feeling isolated, living in this house by myself, nobody else, around but the dog. I'm not going to get into another relationship right away. That's clear. I mean, I will probably in the future, but I needed this time to just be by myself, to figure out who I am, figure out what my life is. What am I doing here? Do I want to live in this house alone forever? Spend my money and just save it all up and just eat food and do nothing? And the answer is absolutely not. So when Archangel Michael stopped the wind, I will never be the same person. And you can again deny that this happened. You can tell me that I'm full of it, that I'm lying to you, that I'm trying to make this up for money or whatever. That's not true. I haven't done anything to make money this year so far. And I probably won't need to if I get, if our company gets financed. But again, I have to do one more paid product in the meantime to stabilize myself. So we are going to do that. But I shared this with the Alliance. I shared the wind stopping and the enormous amount of gravitational pressure that would have been required to cause this to happen, which is much greater than what it would take to levitate one person. which means obviously the ability is inside me now. If I had the ability to do this, to answer in my prayer like this, it means that that ability exists. So that's actually very exciting. So I've been sharing all the telekinesis that's happening to me with the Alliance. I think they've been very interested in this too. And so one of my insiders is, I call him the Colonel. So the Colonel actually thought of Revelation 7, and this is what made me realize that what happened to me is probably meant to be for everyone. It wasn't just something that was happening to me to let me know that I am free now. I don't have any residual karma. I don't have to feel like I need to be tortured or that I have this sense that I'm a bad person inside or something. I've figured out why all that happened. And I have fought my ass off for the good and to try to make this planet better. Okay? So the Colonel says, whoa, David, you just got something that's right out of Revelation 7 with all the wind stopping like that? Oh yeah, go back and take a look. So I did. Here's what it says, okay? It's very interesting. I saw 4 angels, of course, Gabriel, Raphael, Ariel, and Michael. Michael is Michael, right? So Archangel Michael is one of the 4 angels. So first of all, he actually did an event by stopping the wind that refers to a passage in the Bible where he is one of the 4 archangels that actually stops the wind. Interesting. I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, one of which is Michael, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. And holding is interpreted as holding back the winds. So wow. Okay, so this makes it a prophetic event, right? Let's read the rest of this passage, okay? And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth back, that the wind should not blow on the earth. So this is some kind of biblical prophecy they gave me, folks. Nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. Their foreheads? Well, what happens with psychopaths? Psychopaths don't have MRI activity in the forehead. And I really do believe, and we'll get into this more in the next show, that the psychopath is the mark of the beast. If your brain isn't operating up here, you have the mark of the beast. Okay? So to activate the seal means that your pineal gland is activated. Jesus in the book of Mark says the light of the body is the eye. If your eye be single, I got 2 eyes. What are you talking about, Jesus? If your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. Now, this is not the Illuminati one eye thing at all. We're talking about the pineal gland. Jesus is telling you in the book of Mark to activate your pineal gland. Okay, that's part of the magic. So now, Archangel Michael / Valiant Thor / Law of One has come in, stopped the wind, just like Revelation 7. And in the messages that correlated with all this, he's telling me the earth is not going to be destroyed. You're not going to have the solar flash. You're not going to have the pole shift, at least not right away. So then getting back to this, it says, these angels will not hurt the earth, the sea, or the trees until they have received the seal in their forehead. So this to me probably represents the opening of the pineal gland. The seal ultimately represents the bright pineal gland, where you have telekinesis, where you have telepathy, and these abilities exist. And so there is a line in the Law of One where it says something about a 100 to 700 year time frame before the possibility of a solar flash. So I've started, the last I was at, in the last videos I spoke before this time loop and before Michael stopped the wind, I was like, well, maybe the solar flash just is canceled. It's not going to happen at all, because it looks like it happened on Proxima Centauri right on December 21st, 2012, the exact day that the Mayan calendar ended. Bam, we got the 2012 solar flash. So maybe it's not going to happen here. It probably is still going to happen, but it's going to take 100 to 700 years, and everybody's going to be getting executive function. Everybody's going to be getting telekinesis. Everybody's going to start becoming aware that you have this spiritual double that is trying to get your attention with synchronicity, with telepathy, moving things around on you, all that kind of stuff. So I'm having to go through this first to get ready for everybody else dealing with this. And again, they did tell me that these abilities of executive function will start happening much more often after the cabal has been arrested and exposed, which is going to take a while. When we get into the next class, and I'm going to talk about the solar cycles and how that's working, it's going to be a couple more years, but the bulk of it, I think, is going to be over before the end of this year. The bulk of the most kinetic stuff, which is why I doubt that we have to wait until November to see some really big stuff. Because again, France shows you're not going to solve this by voting, right? So I think that what's going to happen is that over the next 100 to 700 years, that this other aspect of ourselves will become awake. We will learn how to bilocate into it. We will learn how to use it to move objects. We will learn how to use it to make our bodies levitate. And once enough of us, or once all of us, have figured this out, and we all have this going, then the sun does its thing, but nobody really cares, because you're now able to live in the new body that you built over the last 100 to 700 years. And so that's where I think most likely that this is actually going, based on everything I'm getting from Michael in real time here. So he says that this solar flash won't happen until we're ready for it, where your 4D body is fully activated and it's useful. Therefore, it is an effortless transformation. And as I said, the repetition of the number 7 in this system is talking about your chakras. It's talking about all that stuff. So let me just cut down here a little bit more, because I want to... Okay, let's do this. You gotta have a slideshow that you can adapt for the length of the show that you want to do. And I'm already more than I want to. And as I said, our top insiders are now being told mind-blowing things. In other words, people who I know as insiders have told me that they've been told very amazing things, and they haven't even told me what they are yet. I don't know what the very amazing things are, but I'm getting that the arrests are going to be amazing. The trial is going to be amazing. It's not going to be very long. And you're going to find out a whole lot of weird stuff almost immediately. So we're getting rapid movements toward full disclosure. They're now giving us the order to zero in on this. So let's finish Revelation 7 here. I heard the number of them who were sealed, and it was 144,000. And here's the 12 tribes of Israel. So again, this is one of those things that is metaphorical, not really literal. So don't get hung up on the 12 lost tribes and all this stuff. This is all metaphorical. The book of Revelation was achieved in a dream state, and a lot of it is symbolic. So don't assume that if you're not one of these tribes that you're not going, or don't assume that there's only 144,000 people. This is all very, very much a symbolic message. I could go much more into that, but I'm not going to right now. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations, kindreds, and people, and tongues. So the whole world is now standing before the throne and before the Lamb. This is Jesus, of course, the Logos, the galactic mind. They are now clothed in their white robes, and they have palms in their hands, and worshipped God, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving, honor, power, and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? And where did they come from? And I said unto him, Sir, you already know. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white, in the blood of the Lamb, the shedding of the innocents, right? Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. So this is a very important point here, because again, remember, Archangel Michael specifically used the stopping of the wind to tell us to read Revelation 7. And right here it says that we are coming out of great tribulation, and we have washed our robes clean of the blood that was formed. The blood is all of the crazy stuff that they've been doing to us in third density. And I'm done with it. I'm done with shedding blood and being victimized. It's not going to happen, okay? So back to this is obviously very, very exciting, very, very amazing. And to me, this prophecy is not an accident. Again, you can deny it, but I will never be the same after having the wind stopped when I said, by decree of Archangel Michael, I am free now. And when I said I am free now, that means I don't need to suffer anymore. That means I don't need to be tortured. That means I don't need to go through horrible things. And hopefully the company will get financed too. Let's add that on there, making a wish list. It's really bothered me. I mean, I've had very bad insomnia. I've needed to take sleep medication sometimes, actually, because I just can't sleep. This has been happening over and over again. I wake up at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just can't get back to sleep. A lot of times I've been passing out on the couch, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I want to listen to the news. I'm trying to listen to the shows that I like, and I just immediately pass out. So there's very intense energetics going on through me and in my life. They want me up here alone in this house. I'm not actually unhappy anymore. I was unhappy for quite a while. I was very unhappy in January, February, March, and April, okay? And I needed that time because I don't want unhappiness to project into my work. I wanted my work to be clean and clear. I want it to come from the highest possible level. And I wanted to come to you with positivity, not projecting anything, being very clear about what I'm seeing and where this is going. And then when you start getting the time loop and you start recovering traumatic memories and you're remembering those things as if they happened to you, you have to take time to process. Again, I think I'm pretty much done with it. I think I'm pretty much done with the processing. I've accepted that this may have happened to me, though I have no absolute memory or way of proving that it did. That may come in the future. I have been told that it will be made available to me that the memory block could be removed. I don't know if I want the memory block removed, because honestly, it may be that there's 30 or 40 different ceremonies I had to see. And I don't want to remember those. It would be nice if I could get preferential memories of some things and not others, but I don't know if it works that way. And I've also been hearing that there's probably very good records, and therefore whatever was done would be something that I could learn. Yeah, I don't really want to find out that I have another lifetime, sort of like a parallel lifetime that was dark. I just want to fight against it. I don't really need to know what happened. I don't really want to know it. I don't really think I need those memories unblocked. I just want to go into space now on much friendlier terms. Let's build the spaceships now. Let's get out there now. And they're telling us that this is going to move a lot faster than we thought. So I am very, very pleased now to say that we are at the end of the show. I'm going to go into the solar cycles in the next episode. I'm sorry I didn't have time to get into this today, but obviously this other stuff took precedence and I just go with the flow. Again, I'm sorry for the emotionality. These are, in my experience, real traumatic memories that I've had to process and release. Hence the bathtub has been very helpful. When you're in the bathtub, there's a lot of baptism type of stuff that happens. And baptism is a big deal. Okay, baptism really works. And I don't know why you got to urinate in the water, but that's just it's up to you whether you want to try that part or not, but they're telling me it's very much part of the protocol. So what do we got ahead in the coming weeks? Probably a blackout, probably big, crazy, weird stuff, probably scary stuff. It could get a lot worse. I don't know. I don't know if it's all going to roll up this week. I don't know if it's going to take weeks more. But when you see how desperate they are, when you go through that checklist that we had earlier in the show, in fact, let's just go back to that checklist again, because I have the ability to pop around, of course. And let's just think about this, because now that we're at the end, we start at the beginning once more. So all of this stuff really, really has everything to do with what's going on now and why we have to be so vigilant. So let me get back to just like Vigilant Thor or Valiant Thor, right? You got Vigilant too. Okay, so let's now go into our global peace meditation, if I can find the right button, because I don't want to keep talking and I've already been... Oh, Randy Cooper says, hurry, I have to clean my dishes. Okay. Well, we'll speed it up just for you, Randy. How about that? Okay, so don't freak out about all the stuff that I just put in the list. This is what happens when you're at the end of something that people don't really see what it is yet. If you have a revolution, that kind of thing, you don't really find out about it until it actually happens, unless you're very astute and you can see the signs coming. But a lot of times these things happen spontaneously, and for most people, they're a huge surprise as one administration suddenly turns into something else. Okay? It can often be a huge surprise. A lot of people are not seeing where this is going. You probably are, because you're studying the same kind of data that I am. And we can help activate that timeline that we want right now. So let's do that together. Are you ready? So I'd like you to begin by placing both feet flat on the floor. And just let yourself breathe deeply, becoming more and more relaxed. Relaxation moving through your body, through every cell of your body, filling with beautiful light. The colors, the sounds of consciousness entering into your mind, the fulfillment of the promise, the fullness of the actualization of what it is that you've always wanted to be, and the world that you have always wanted to live in. Now, everything is changing. We can invoke the virginal mind, step away from the staggering contradictions of what we are seeing now, and step into the faith and the trust and the peace of where this is going, where our planet is taking us. By decree of Archangel Michael, we are free now. This is his demand for the entirety of planet Earth. And he stopped the winds to underline the lesson. Do not be afraid of what you are seeing take place in the world today. It is not the end. It is merely the last vestiges of a dying world order that secured control through deception, theft, murder, lies, and betrayal. We no longer need this type of experience on Earth to mirror our collective karma back to ourselves. By decree of Archangel Michael, we are free now, and we are moving back into the purity that we once were, the purity that can redefine our existence as we learn to take our lessons and accept that the universe is love. It is a loving consciousness, and we are here to learn to love one another. And these epic villains are only there to trigger the Great Awakening. For where we go one, we go all. And so it is. And now I'd like you to breathe your way back into the room, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Come on back with me now. Thank you for participating in this meditation. Thank you for being here with me in this show. Sorry that I cried, but didn't seem like you guys were that upset about it. This is a very exciting week. I do want to pop in more. I'm going to be very much focused on getting that Archangel Michael book out to you and getting the Ascension Philosophy course outlined, written up, and launched. maybe we can start the course really soon, maybe in a week or two. I got to give it a little bit of time before we actually start the show so that people can find out about it and that they have a chance to order it, but it's only going to be a few weeks. So Ascension Philosophy, I'm going to get way more into the executive function teachings that I've been given about the inversion of the mind's eye into the environment. More exercises, a lot more stuff is coming in that course. And again, Michael Prophecies, we're going to be releasing it on thedisclosure.com. I will have it available in an audiobook format. In fact, I even have a nice little lower third here if I can find it. No, it's gone. Okay, never mind. I had to reopen the thing. So anyway, that's all the time that we have for today. Don't be afraid in the next coming days, because I'm expecting very, very, very big things to be happening. The best thing I can advise you to do is to meditate, to breathe. Don't act like everything is so important. Just be good to yourself. Take some time off. Take a bath if you need to. Don't feel like you got to be so busy. Don't feel like you got to study all the news. Don't let your mind get all riled up. Sleep when you can. If you're having insomnia, sleep when you can. And keep on using the power of prayer, because that is the calling. The biggest thing that these angelic beings need is they need you to actually pray to them. Because the Law of One makes it very clear that unless you do, they cannot act. Therefore, the more of us who ask for help, the faster we're going to get through this. Your vote counts, because each additional person voting in favor of light and love adds exponentially to the size of the calling. And they calculate what they can do based on the size of the calling. That means that even a few people multiply into a very, very significant effect. So if I have done one thing today, maybe I have built your faith to get you to be a little bit more confident about what's going on, to be a little more prayerful and meditative in your daily life, and to learn most of all, to just be kind to yourself. You don't need to feel so bad about everything. You don't need to feel like you're a bad person. You don't need to feel like you're someone who deserves to be abused, because that's what the deep state is showing you. And again, I was trained in this in college. I was trained in domestic violence. I was trained in perpetrators. I studied this academically, so I know a lot more about this than usual. And when the person starts hitting, it's because they're losing control, and they are afraid, and they are trying to maintain their grip on power. And what we're seeing right now is the equivalent of them hitting us. This is where it comes to an end, because the human population has decided we don't like being hit. We like to fight back, and we are fighting back. And this is where it's going. And I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my information, listen to what I have to tell you. Even if you can't believe everything that I said is true, I think you will be greatly, greatly surprised by the quality and the depth of the Michael prophecies. So please, again, go to thedisclosure.com. I'm going to try to get the darn thing recorded as an audiobook this coming week, but first I got to get the interpretations written. And I was going to do it now, but then I said, wait a minute, things are so crazy, I've got to squeak out a video before I make the product. So hopefully I'll get this product done in the coming week. Hopefully I'll be back with you on a video very soon to launch the product, because product launch is going to be several videos. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've got tons of slides I haven't even gone through. We're going to talk about solar cycles. Many more things are coming up. Sorry that it ended up being, 3 hours plus once again. But this is David Wilcock. I love you. I'm not suicidal, okay? I'm having a great time. I've been through the bad stuff. I'm feeling great now. I'm enjoying being alone. I'm enjoying the meditation. I'm enjoying playing music. I'm enjoying doing this video. And I want to do more. I now feel a lot more comfortable about this. And I want to get on the camera, and I want to use this talent that I have to help you. So with that said, I'm David Wilcock, signing off. We will see you next time. Thank you for watching, and may the light and love of the One Infinite Creator be with you. Usually hit stop. At some point, you got to hit stop.